Hello guys, welcome back to this YouTube channel and thanks for viewing this video. Today we are going to continue designing our website. We are going to work on this section of our website where we are having our heading and some text, then a button. Down here we are going to put a slider, and in the slider we are having images. If you click on the slider button, you can slide through the images. You can use this design for our team section or to show images just like I'm showing here. And you can see that if I hover on the images, we are having a box shadow, and down here we are having some text. So this video is the continuation of a series of videos I started. So the first video I made was on how to design this header where we are having a navigation bar and then our slider. So I used Bootstrap and jQuery Owl Carousel plugin to do the slider and then the navigation bar. Down here, I made a second video where I showed you how to create this accordion using Bootstrap. And on the left, you can see that we have an image and some text. So in this video today, we are going to work on this third portion of our website, just like I showed you. So let's go in our Visual Studio in order to start coding. So here is my index.html file where I wrote all my codes. So if you want to have these codes, you can watch the videos, my two previous videos on this series. I'm going to put the links in the description. So without delay, let's start. So I'm simply going to comment here by saying image media section. So now the first thing I'm going to add will be a section tag. So I will say section. And in that section tag, I'm going to add a class called section. I'm also going to add a Bootstrap class called BGLight. This is going to give me a background color for this section. Then I'm going to create another Bootstrap class called container. Inside the container, I will create another Bootstrap class called row. And inside the row, I will create a Bootstrap class, a column MD8. Inside this class, I will have my heading. So the heading, I will give it a class of heading. And I can also add some margin bottom. So MB4 here is a Bootstrap class that is used to add margin bottom to your HTML element. And inside the heading, I will say meet our adorable pets. This is it. I can say that I want my text in this row to be centered. So in here, I'm going to add another Bootstrap class called text center. And in the row, I will also say that I want the text to be centered. So I will say justify content center. So this is going to make sure that the content in this row will be centered. I can also add some margin bottom. So MB5, which is a Bootstrap class, will add some margin bottom. Let me add a paragraph, and this paragraph element, I will give it a Bootstrap class. I will say MB margin bottom 4, and I can also add another Bootstrap class, which is a lead, that will allow for my text to stand out. And then I will say lorem, I want 20 words like this, and then save. So after doing that, I can add another p tag that I'm going to give a class MB4. No, this is going to be MB0. I don't want any margin bottom for this element. And inside this class, I will add a link. And in that link, I want a class of button, BTN, and BTN primary. So if you watched my previous video, you know that BTN primary is a class that we already defined in our CSS. So I'm going to show you that when we will reach the CSS part of this video. So this is what I'm going to write for the class, and I can just put the hashtag here, and then the text on the button, I will say find more waiting, or find out about our pets. Okay, so that's it, and I'm simply gonna save like this. Now, if we come to our website and refresh, now you can see that we have the text, the heading, the text, and then the button. So now let us now work on this portion of our section where we are having the images and then the slider, buttons, and dots down here. So let me count down here, and I will say that I want another Bootstrap class row like this. And in this class, I am going to create another class that I will call major slider, major carousel. And I will say another class in here will be JS carousel, JS carousel, and then the other our carousel class will be our carousel. So in this portion of code, I will add a div class. In this div, I'm going to add some Bootstrap classes. So the first one will be media. When I press enter, so I can add some other classes here. I will say media custom D block. This is a Bootstrap class, and I will add another Bootstrap class that will say text left. So this is going to make sure that the text is going to be aligned from the left. So in here, I will say I'm going to add a link, and I will add an image. So the source of the image, I have my images in my images folder. So I'll say images. Image can I add here? I'll say pet. So we have some images. I can scroll down. I'll say, let me take pet 5, for example. And in this attribute, I will say image placeholder. And I will add some Bootstrap class. So that will be img fluid. So this is the image I need to add here. So down here, I'm going to add another Bootstrap class that's called media body. So this is a Bootstrap class. And in that Bootstrap class, I'm going to add an h3. In that h3 tag, I'm going to add a class that I'm going to call text black, because I want the text in this h3 to be black. And I will add some Bootstrap class empty margin top 0. After that, I'm going to add a link. This link will also have the class of text black, and then I will add some text here. I will say bulldog, and let me just add some span tag with a class of age here, and then I will add age. Years old. So I will save this. We are not going to be able to see this image because we are using our carousel. If you can recall, we are using our carousel here. So before we can see the images and the slider, we have to initialize it in our JavaScript file. But we're going to do that later. So what we are going to do now is to copy and paste this portion of text. Okay, as you can see. So we'll paste, copy, and paste down here, and that's it. So we have pasted our code. So now all we have to do is to edit, okay, to make sure that we are having different images. So right here, we said pet 5, we can say pet 6 here, and we can say that this pet is 1 year old. We can just give another name. That's it. So for the third one, we can say pet 1. We can give another name like this. We'll put the age. Here we will say pet 4. We will say the name here. Change the age. This. As for this one, we will say pet 3. We can keep the name and give another age, and then save. So as I was saying, we cannot be able to see the images even if we refresh because we have to work on the JavaScript part. We are using the Carousel to show these images. We have the Carousel here. So let me go to my script.js file, and I'm simply gonna comment here. So I will say our carousel image media section. So that's it. So I will start with this portion of code, and let me check the class. So I'm going to work with this class JS carousel. So in here, I will say JS carousel that how carousel. So this is how you actually initialize your owl carousel. So now I can start adding the properties. So I will say loop true, autoplay will also be true. Then page pattern, say 7, margin 20, animate, I'll say animate out will be fade out, and animate in will be fade in. So I want the navigation buttons to show, so I will say nav true, and I can also add autoplay hover pause will be true as well. So I want to make sure that the number of items to show on my carousel to be 3, and I will add the nav text. So this is going to allow me to use my font awesome. So in here, I'm simply going to specify a span tag, and in the class, I will specify my font awesome class. So I'll say FA chevron left. So this is it. I need to close the tag. So I need to add the chevron right side. I'll simply copy and paste. And in here, instead of chevron left, I'm going to say chevron right. So that's it. I will also work on making sure that my slider or my carousel is responsive. So I will say responsive and 0. So 0 here is making reference to the size of the screen. Say items 1 and nav false. So what this means is that I'm saying that when the size of my screen is 0 pixels, I want you to show 1 item, and I don't want any navigation buttons to show. And then the next thing will be if the size of my screen is around 600 pixels. So I want the number of items to show to be 2. So you have to show 2 items. And I also do not want any navigation button. I can also say that if the screen size is above 1000 pixels, I want the number of items to be 3. I want you to show 3 items. And then I want you to show the navigation buttons. Then I also would want you to loop through the images. So I don't want you to, I can say I don't want you to loop through the images. So I will say false like this and save. So if I come to my browser and refresh, now you can see that I'm having the images, I'm having the buttons. When I click on the buttons, I can slide through my images. Okay, so now we have to work on the CSS to actually make these images and the buttons look nice. So let us come to our CSS file. So here I am simply going to write a comment, and I will say image media section. So if we come back to our HTML file, the first thing we want to style will be the section. But we won't write the code because we already did that in the previous video. We already have a section class here that we styled here. So this is the code for a section. It's only the pattern, okay? 7em0 that we give here. And we also, here we are also having the class btn primary and btn. We are not going to write that in this video because we already have the styling here. So that's why when you come here, you already can see that the button is well styled. Okay, so we are not going to do that. So you can just copy this code here that you are looking at on the screen for the section class and for the BTN primary class. Okay, so now the first thing in here that we will style will be the heading class that we are simply going to give a color of black. Okay, we actually want our heading to be black, and we are now going to start working on our owl carousel. So we will say owl carousel, and we will start with the class that we gave to our owl carousel here. We called it major carousel. So major carousel, and we will say owl stage outer. So we will simply say that we want a padding top of 30 pixels and a padding bottom of 30 pixels as well. After that, we are going to work again on the owl carousel, major carousel. Now we are going to work on the navigation buttons. So I'm going to say owl nav and owl previous. So this is for the previous button. Then we will copy and paste here. I will simply change this to next. So I can add the transition. So I will first say transition WebKit transition 0.3 second all is. I will copy this, paste it. I will change here to all transition, and this will be changed to transition. And then I'm going to add the color of the buttons. I want it to be a little bit dark, not really dark, but a little bit the mixture of white and gray. Okay, it's going to be gray. Okay, so this is 8. So now the next thing I'm going to style is going to be the previous button whenever I hover on these buttons. So I'll say hover like this. I will also say that I want to style whenever I focus. So I'm going to do the same thing for the button next. So here, instead of previous, I'm going to say next. So next, and I'm going to change here. I will say focus. So as for this, I'm simply going to work on the color. So 868E96. This is going to be the color of the navigation buttons of my slider whenever I focus on the button or whenever I hover on the button. And I'm going to remove the outline. So I will say outline none. So that's it. I can also specify another property. So I'm going to say disabled here. So whenever the previous button or the next button is disabled, I will simply specify a color for this button. So I'm going to say color with DEE to E6. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the owl carousel buttons are placed. Okay, the previous button must be placed on the left. So I will say left minus 60 pixels. And I will enforce that by saying that this is important. So I will do the same thing for the button next. But here, instead of left, I will say right. And I will change here, I'll say next. If I come back to my website, as you can see, I'm having my buttons placed. The previous button is placed on the right. The next button is placed on the left. That's it. So what else can I work on? I can work on the dots. So I'll say owl carousel, major carousel, that owl dots. I will simply say that the bottom to be minus 30 pixels. I will enforce that, saying that it's important. And I want the position to be relative. So this is gonna place the dots of the carousel. So here you can see that we are having the dots. So now let's work on the body of the carousel. So there was a class that we called media custom. So we will say media custom. We'll first say that the background, we want the background to be white. We can add some transition. So let me just copy this and paste it here. We say that the margin bottom to be 30 pixels and the position to be relative. We say top 0. We can also work on the media custom links. We will say that the position will be relative and the overflow will be hidden and display block. So let me come back to my browser and refresh. So this is how this is looking. So let me work on the images. I want my images to have the same height. So I will say media custom img for the image tag. So I will simply say height 400 pixels and object fit. I will say cover and I will add the transition. Now when I save, come to my browser and refresh, as you can see, my images are now having the same height. My images are having the same height. That's okay. So let me now continue working on this media custom. So I'll simply say that when I focus on this media custom class element, or when I hover on that class element, I want the top to be -2 pixels. And I also want to specify some box shadow, 2 pixels, 40 pixels, 0 RGBA, 0, 0, 0.2. I'm simply going to copy and paste that, and I will give the same value to the property box shadow. So now I will work on the image again. So I will say media custom. Whenever I focus and I want to work on the image, then media custom. Whenever I hover, I want to specify the properties of the image. So here I will say WebKit transform. So scale 1.1 and MS transform scale 1.1, and I will do the transform again, scale 1.1. So this is going to make sure that when we hover on our image, we will have an effect like the image is going to zoom in. As you can see, the image is zooming in. All right. So now let us work on the media body class. So media custom, then media body. So I will say padding 30 pixels, and I will work on media custom, media body, H3, font size 20 pixels, and then save. So when I come here and refresh, now you can see we're having our text. So I need to work on the colors here of the text. So we gave it the class of text black. So I'm simply going to say that the color will be black, and it's important. For the other text, I gave it the class of age, and we want the font size to be 14 pixels and the color to be 8E96. So that's going to be a grayish color. So when I refresh, now we are having our text, which is black here, and then we are having for the age a grayish color. So just like what we are having here, that's what we have designed. We can also add the last line of code. Simply say media custom, media body, p last child, and then the margin bottom to be 0, and then save. So guys, that's it for this video. As you can see, we have designed this section of our website where we are having some text and then a slider made up of images, and we can click on the slider button to scroll through our images. As you can see here, we also have some dots. We can click on them to take us to the other side of our carousel slider. So we used Bootstrap 5 and our carousel plugin to design this website section. So I hope this video was informative, and please don't forget to like, share, ask any question if you have, and subscribe to this channel. So let's meet in the next video. Take care.